What is up, YouTube? Ncaa31 here. Part 2 of my custom Tampa 2 playbook video. Well, not video, but series. And this video is going to be broken up into two parts. The first part is, this is a my most recent online ranked game, showing you all of the defensive snaps of the game. And then after this game, you're going to see a page through of the formations and plays that I have in the playbook. And again, I base out of the 4-3. If you want to use a 3-4, you can use the same type of plays. You'll just have to add a formation here or there to get what you want. And follow the same rules. Mix up who you blitz with your linebackers, and it'll work just as well with a 3-4 as it does a 4-3 or a multiple defense if you want to do that. But the same rules will always apply. And this particular game highlights a couple of things. One, the reason why I hate playing ranked games. Online ranked games and lobby games, people who play mainly those type of games, the records can sometimes be deceiving. If any of you guys follow Duke the Killer and his channel, he did a great job last year in Madden-11 exposing a lot of these frauds out there who have, these insane records. And he does it in a very, entertaining way. A lot of guys out there, they bum hunt, they noob hunt. They're the guys who, if you have a winning record and you see them on your challenge screen, they won't respond. They're waiting and hunting for noobs. So they pad their record somewhat that way. And of course you have guys who are drop glitchers, freeze glitchers, and all that stuff. And plus, in online ranked, most guys, they have a couple of, tricks that they rely on, or a very limited understanding of, how to do anything outside of their gimmicks. And once you catch on to what they're trying to do and take it away, the game falls apart very quickly. Now, this particular guy, you're going to see the game gets away from him pretty rapidly here. And the reason why is this guy wants to throw long, he wants to scramble, and if you have your players set up where they need to be set up, you have your best athletic defensive linemen or pass rushing linebackers in the game, your best coverage people in the game at linebacker, and you have your good zone defense in your secondary, you're going to cause a guy who doesn't want to be patient, doesn't know how to read the defense, and is just looking for big plays, a world of hurt. Like right here, he starts to pop a run here and there and gets the ball stripped there for a turnover. I have my game plan settings set at conservative zone coverage, conservative tackle, aggressive ball strip, and aggressive coverage. I want my guys going after the ball as much as possible. And you're going to see that he pretty much plays right into the hands of the strength of this defense. One thing I would point out to you guys is, don't be thrown off about how simple and vanilla the playbook looks. I promise you, if you guys, just give it a shot, practice at it, and optimize your roster and get used to, being comfortable with who you want to use or control, and adjust to what your opponent is doing, you'll get results. And right there you see another example. I have one of my athletic defensive linemen spying. He tries to get to the outside, he can't, and he throws the ball into good zone coverage. Notre Dame is a team that has pretty strong zone coverage if you get the best zone coverage linebackers onto the field, and they have good defensive backs who are good at covering zone. They're okay in off man, and they're horrible at press coverage. So when I play man, I'm usually an off man, and they do have solid zone defense. And as I mentioned in my first video, they have 2 outside linebackers who are very good speed rushers. They have speed ratings. One has a speed rating of 83, the other at 84. They have block shed ratings in the 80s. They have finesse move ratings in the 80s, and they're very athletic, so they can get it. So my whole, you know, train of thought is to have them always do what they do best. And I have the player who was one of the defensive ends. At my most athletic defensive end, I moved him to defensive tackle, and he has a 79 speed. He has a good strength, block shed rating, tackle rating, and I have another defensive tackle who's athletic, who has a 70 speed, and can still shed blocks and has a good power move rating. And you're going to see, you know, the disruption that can cause.
But it was well played by the defense to stop him for a minimal gain.
I get lucky here and there, you know, that's going to happen. I get away with blowing a couple of plays where I'm late to read the seam, but, you know, that's going to happen. But in general, if you just stick with it and be patient and let these guys dig their own graves, you're going to have good results. Like right there, edge rush, speed edge rusher. He wants to get outside that pocket if that deep read isn't there, and he can't because the ends are athletic, and also there are plays in the playbook that will have one of the defensive tackles either spying or dropping back into a zone. Again, the other defensive end. Quick defensive ends who will keep that quarterback in the pocket or make it hard for him to break the pocket. Now you're going to have some quarterbacks who, you know, guys like Denard Robinson and Terrell Pryor, those guys are going to be a headache to deal with either way because they're just, you know, that much more athletic than any other quarterback in the game. But against most of these dual threat quarterbacks, you'll be all right. In that particular play there, you know, that's a throw I want people to make. I want to force people into making throws wide to where I have, you know, my good zone coverage corners and safeties, because those are the harder throws to make than the throws in the middle of the field. And if I'm playing a guy like this who refuses to be patient, then they're going to pay the consequences. Yes, they may hit a play here or there, but like here, he takes too long to get the screen pass off. But in general, if you just stick with it, it's going to pay off. And this particular game, I'm controlling a middle linebacker. You can control pretty much whoever you want. One of the things that I really like about the EA games this year is that, you know, in the past, the game has been really dependent on being a good user linebacker or safety person. But I feel like the games are now getting back to that balance that they used to have, where you could make an impact with any player on the field. And that's the way a game should be. You shouldn't be forced to play a game a certain way. If you want to user a defensive tackle and, you know, freak the user out with your pressure, that's good too. If you do play that way, the one thing I would suggest that you do is that in long yardage and in must-pass situations, you hot route the middle linebacker into a blue zone. So you have that 3-deep Tampa 2, you know, look, you have 3-deep coverage out of that cover 2. And if you have an athletic linebacker who's fast and has good zone coverage, he's going to be able to cover an awful lot of ground. Right here, prime example. Athletic defensive line. I had a contain stunt going, and he couldn't beat my athletic defensive tackle, who I, you know, previously had playing defensive end. That's Capron Lewis Moore, Notre Dame's best defensive end. He's playing defensive tackle now, and occasionally he'll spy, he'll drop back, or I'll have the other defensive tackle, you know, spy or drop back in some plays. So you need to have the pieces to make the playbook work. If you're using a team that isn't quite as, you know, athletically gifted as the, you know, Alabamas, LSUs, you know, Floridas of the world, and, you know, you want some, you know, feedback as to how to set your roster up, you know, feel free to give me a message and I'll be happy to look over the depth chart with you and, you know, tell you who I think you should put where in order to get the defense to work the best with the team you are using. And again, See there, athletic defensive tackle was able to get over there and cut off that lane for him to scramble, and he forced the ball into, you know, good, deep zone coverage. You know, my safeties there both have zone coverage ratings in the mid to high 80s. So they're not going to, you know, blow too many plays. And in a situation like this, where I'm up 24-0, I'm not keying the run at all. I'm just playing pass commit now, because why bother with the run? And now he feels that the only thing that he can do is either send everybody deep and hope to get a guy open, or try to scramble. And again, spies, he has nowhere to go. And Cincinnati has a pretty athletic quarterback. This game's winding down pretty soon. You know, you see this guy is just, you know, he's struggling here. He's suffering pretty bad. I changed it up here and threw a blitz at him, and, you know, sometimes he gets wrong. That's okay.
They pick up a good 6 yards there.
You get 6 yards, and that makes picking up.
But the big thing is that make the guy prove to you that he is going to be patient and knows how to read the defense and will take what's there. There are weaknesses in this defense. You know, a person can attack the seams. Obviously, that's the stress point in the cover 2, and also the cover 3 in some, you know, instances. They have to be willing to run the football and be willing to dink and dunk their way down the field. And once they prove to you that they're willing to do those things, then you can, you know, open up the playbook and mix in your cover 3s, your cover 4, your man-to-man zone blitzes and man blitzes, and, you know, those combo coverages that are half cover 3, half cover 2. And that's when you can get the mental aspect of the game going and the chess match going. You know, one of the things that I've always loved about football, even, you know, back in the day when I was playing, was the mental aspect of the game. I always viewed football as a game of chess with, you know, real people, and that's a part of the game that has always, you know, appealed to me and I've always enjoyed, and a part of the game that I've tried to, you know, bring to YouTube. You know, what's fun for me is being able to take real life, you know, schemes and apply them to this, you know, world. And I think I've shown that that's possible to do. You know, I think EA football games, sometimes don't get enough credit for allowing you to do that. There's a lot more here than people sometimes acknowledge. So that's that for the Tampa 2. It's simple, it's safe, and easy to learn. And once you get settled in and comfortable with the playbook and understanding the roles your different players have to play, you'll do some good things. Hope you guys enjoy. Take care. Peace.